Good morning, guys. Welcome to today's lesson. I'm looking at the review of rates. So again, this is stuff that you have done before. It's just a matter of us trying to revise and remember it. So what is a rate to start off with? Well, things like kilometres per hour, litres per minute, might be grams per second. So it's when we're comparing two different units, and again, it's a measurement. And usually what you'll find, it's a measurement per time, usually. Not always, but usually, okay? So, an example might be, I've got 12 litres per minute. So I might be filling up a bath at that rate. So they can ask you different questions. For example, they could ask you to put that in terms of litres per hour, which is not a bad question because all you're doing is converting the minutes 2 hours, not the litres, so we're only making one sort of measurement conversion. So if I've got 12 litres in 1 minute, how can I find out how many litres I'll have in 1 hour? Well, that means we're looking for 60 minutes, which is I'm timesing by 60, so 12 times 60 equals 720, which means I'm having 720 litres per hour. But alternatively, they might ask you to put it back into milliliters per second, which means now I'm not only just making one conversion, so minutes to seconds, but I'm also doing liters to milliliters. It doesn't matter which one you do first, but you do have to figure out whether you are timesing by an amount or dividing, because for example, one of them will be a times and one will be divide. So let's start with the liters to milliliters. How many mils are there in a liter? Well, hopefully you know that there are 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. Therefore, if I've got 12 liters, I want to times it by 1,000 to get 12,000 milliliters. Remember, that's still per minute. So for every minute we use it, we've got 12,000 mils. Now, if I want to find what that is per second, well, there are 60 seconds. See, I've times by 1,000. This time what I'm going to do is divide, because I want to do the opposite movement. And that's going to be dividing by 60. So 12,000 divided by 60 equals 200. So I'm going to get 200 milliliters per second. Now, this can get a bit confusing. I do understand that, so please bear with me. Okay, the next one. Now, this is a really common one. Meters per second to kilometers per hour. So again, you can do the meters to kilometers to start with, and sometimes it might help to do the kilometers, meters, centimeters, and millimeters table. You might remember doing that in sort of year 7 and possibly year 8 as well. Remembering that if I've got 1 kilometer, I've got 1,000 meters. If I've got 1 meter, I've got 100 centimeters. If I've got 1 centimeter, I've got 10 millimeters. And if I want to go backwards, we just divide and do the same units. So for this question, if I was doing 5 meters to kilometers, well, meters to kilometers, I'm dividing by 1,000. So 5 divided by 1,000 would equal 0.123. 5. And that is kilometers per second. But now I need to turn that into per hour. So there are 60 seconds in a minute. There are 60 minutes in an hour. And I simply then put that into my calculator. Some people will times it by 3,600. But in this case, we get 18 kilometers per hour. And again, what you might notice, I divided it by 1,000. So that meant I then times it by the other measurement. Now, some people might do the opposite. They might say, well, if I've got 5 meters in 1 second, I'm going to times by 60 to divide it in minutes, times by 60 again to put it in hours, which I'm then going to get 18,000 meters per hour. And then I can divide it by 1,000 to get the 18 kilometers per hour. It doesn't matter which one you do, but remember, if you do the times to start with, then you'll be doing the division afterwards. So you have to figure out what one of them is going to be. That can help you get the next one. Have a go at this one on your own. Okay, so hopefully you said 75 kilometres. Now, this time we're going from kilometres to metres. So I'm going to times it by 1,000 to get 75,000 metres per hour. Now, I times by 1,000, so now I'm going to divide. So 75,000 divided by 60, that puts it into minutes. Divided by 60 again, that puts it in seconds. I now get my calculator out and type those in. Again, you could divide it by 3,600 if you wish. And we get 20.8 meters per hour. So meters per second. And that's round to 1 decimal place. Okay. Let's have a look at the next one. I travelled 60 kilometers per hour for 3.5 hours. So this is looking at rates in a slightly different way. Now, you may or may not remember the Dst Triangle, which helps us for any distance, speed, and time questions. Now, what this little triangle means is that if I'm trying to find the distance, then all we simply do is multiply the speed and the time. If I'm looking to find out the speed of something, then all I need to do is divide the distance and the time. If I would like to find out the time it takes to get somewhere, then I do the distance divided by the speed. And you can see that this little triangle, it can be really useful. So let's have a look at this question. I traveled 60 kilometers per hour. Well, that's a speed, isn't it? For 3.5 hours, well, that's time. And it's asking how far do I travel, which is looking for distance. Therefore, distance equals speed times time, S times T. So my speed is 60 kilometers. My time is 3.5. And then all I need to do is type that into my calculator to get 210 kilometers. It's easy as that. Okay, you have got the next one. So I'm going to put my Dst triangle because it mentions speed, time, and distance. So what's speed? So I'm looking for speed, which means speed equals distance divided by time. What I need to travel in order to reach 550 kilometers, that's my distance, in 6 hours. Okay, so all I need to do is type in 550. I divide that by 6. I'm going to get 91.7. And it's a speed, so it's kilometers per hour to 1 decimal place. Nice and easy. Okay, the last one's going to be slightly trickier. Well, it's still using the Dst triangle, but I'm going to make one little adjustment right at the end to make life a little bit easier. How long? Okay, well, that's time. So I'm doing distance over speed to travel 650 kilometers and a speed of 60 kilometers per hour. So now I'm going to put 650 and I'm going to divide it by 60. Now you might think, well, what have I done differently? Well, that gives me 10.83 recurring hours. Now, the thing is, it might say to the nearest minute, which causes a problem. How are you going to find 0.83 of an hour? So you might remember seeing the little bubble button key on your calculator. It looks like that, which we can actually use for time. If you press that button now, what comes up as your answer as 10 degrees, 50 minutes, and 0 seconds, which means 10 hours and 50 minutes exactly, and no seconds left over. So it's going to be a really nice little button to use when you're trying to find the time, or in fact if you're trying to enter in time as well. It certainly can work, but often we use it for when we're trying to find out the time of something to the nearest minute. Look, again, I hope that was useful to you guys. Have a crack at the couple of questions that I've put there for today, and see how you get on. Have a good one, guys.